Happy May and welcome to my channel. I'm T with Teresa H Creates. It is sheet load of cards time. So Alicia over at Call Me Crafty Owl puts out a sketch and supply list every month to make a set of cards. And this month there are 8 cards. And I am going to take the opportunity to use some scraps, bits and pieces, some remnants from my stash. So I have pulled out this spring market, and you'll see why in just a second. Because let me open this up over here. This collection, I had it and I started some cards a long time ago. I need to probably revisit those. I'm going to set that aside. But I ended up purchasing an entire kit, a second kit, and then someone else's scraps. So I have way more spring market than I need. And this is a Carta collection, and it's a gorgeous collection, but I have really got to use this up. So my goal this month is to use up this collection. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can make this happen. So I started these a long time ago. So I am going, and I think this is like all the scraps for it and everything on top. And I'm going to set that aside. That way I can kind of work that. And then I think that I am not going to tackle this guy. I think I'm going to use these scraps, and that's what I'm going to tackle first. I have not opened it, so I don't know what's in there. So we'll all be surprised. Could be lots of things. So this should be interesting for all of us. I want to kind of go through here and make sure that I've got enough to make these cards. So I know that the largest part or piece that I need, I believe, is like 3.5 by 5. Let me see. It's 3.5 by 5.5. So I went ahead and pulled my card bases from my stash. These are the ones that I'd already made and I had them set aside. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's an odd number. Maybe I'll make another one. Anyway, I'm trying to get rid of stuff in my stash. So I'm going to do 11 cards, even though this only yields 8, but we're pulling from our scraps. So no big deal. Let's go ahead and pull this out and see what's in here. I think that I've probably got enough. It looks like there's definitely enough for me to get 11 3.5 by 5.5 bases out of this, so that shouldn't be a problem. Some of these are directional, so let me see if there are any pieces. So see, stuff like this, I mean, that's not really, that doesn't have to be directional, right? No. So that would be a good one. What is 3.5 by 11 exactly? That is too small. This is too small. I don't know. Some of these scraps in here may be too small. Let's pull this out. There's more of this, and this is facing the right direction. So I'll set that aside. I think that will work. Somebody did a lot of fussy cutting. That will work. Good on them, because I won't do it. That doesn't have to be directional, so that would probably work. That would work. I don't think that would work. Might be a little bit too short. But I've got all of these scraps already that I can use for the diagonal bits. So there's going to be plenty for me to use for the diagonal pieces. For the little strips that go across. And let's see. Let me see if you can, if you got a picture of the sketch. So it's got these little diagonal pieces in the back, and that's what I'm talking about. So I'll need those little strips. And this would be so pretty. I'm going to set those aside, set that aside with it. I don't really want it. That might work. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm just looking for those background pieces. And I think that some of these might be a little bit too thin. Let me see how many of them I have so far. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That probably could do. I could probably get 8 out of that. So we need a few more. It's so weird going through someone else's stash and seeing what they did. I think that that would work. You know, seeing how they use this collection, it is literally in lots of bits and pieces. Lots. This is cute, so we can use that. That won't work. So I think that that was 9. We're getting there. We're getting there. She's got so many scraps. And I believe that this collection was actually used to make like a little chipboard album or something. That's kind of like what her jam was. That is not part of the collection, so she got creative and added this. That's authentique paper. So we've got 9, which is fine. We did really good. And then a lot of these scraps that I'm putting to the side, I'll be able to use those, you know, for those diagonal bits. So that is fantastic. Hopefully we can make at least 11 cards. We might be able to make a few more. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to set that aside. We had some of this. Could definitely use that. I think I already grabbed some of this paper, but that's really pretty. So we might be able to make some more out of that. This is really pretty, and I didn't have any of this and that I grabbed. I like both sides of this, actually. That's really pretty. Okay. All right. I think that that is enough to make our 11 cards. And I don't like 11, so I might actually make a few more card bases. So I use the Nina Solar White cardstock to make my card bases. And yeah, I'm probably going to have to make some more because I don't like 11. So let's see, this is what we've got. I've got to find some coordinating solid cardstock for this, but these will be our card fronts, right? We'll cut these down. There's some more of these. So we'll use the scraps. We'll use some of these 12 by 12s. These are going to be our card fronts. I pulled this aside, and then you saw the tons and tons of scraps that I have over here to work with, but I'll be able to make all of those diagonal pieces using those and cutting those apart. So I just need to get some coordinating cardstock, and then for the actual sentiment, for the sentiment piece here, I pulled either some of these that are already printed, which these are white and this is really more of a cream, so these actually may not work, but I have some already like sentiment ephemera, I guess is what you would call it, just some sentiments that I've already pre-printed, but I have those. But then I also pulled a couple of stamp sets. So I have "You Are Awesome," "Love You," "Thank You," "Adore You," "In a World Where You Can Be Anything, Be Kind." These might be too long, but I really like these little sentiments in here. I like this "Thank You for Your Kindness." "Sending You Love" was another thank you. So I just pulled some random sentiment sets that I have to see if there was anything in here that I would use. These might be too small, but "You Brighten My Day," "Hey There," "Love You Bunches," "Hello Sunshine." Those are all really good ones. And then I have these, and I think these would work as well. So I have plenty of sentiments. I've got plenty of scraps. I'm going to go ahead and make my cuts because you don't need to see all of that. All right, I thought I'd bring you back and show you what I've got so far. I had to make a lot of cuts. It was a lot. And I think that I've got 22. I think that after I cut down all of those bases, well, not the bases, the card fronts, these larger pieces, I think I ended up with 22 total. So that's going to be quite a few cards. I've got everything cut, and now I just have the fun task of assembling all of it, and then selecting the sentiments for these. 2, So this is kind of my process and how I work when I do these things. It's a bit of a mess, but you know, it works for me. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and start assembling, and I'll save one of these so that we can do it together, just so that you can see the rest of the process, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I wanted to assemble my last card on camera just to show you guys, you know, how it's done. I've made so many of them. If I pick up any tips or tricks along the way, I like to pass those on. So I've got the sketch here just to remind you what it's supposed to look like. I didn't deviate much this time. I, you know, kept pretty true to the sketch. It's a cute little sketch. All right, so we've got this piece here that's supposed to go a little bit off kilter, but you tilt the actual piece and you don't have to worry about putting them at an angle on this card. I did find that doing it this way was a little bit more difficult because I cut these to the exact size of this paper, and I think that had I kept them just a tad longer, it would have been a little easier to place them. So now I'm trying to, but this piece is still longer than the actual card front, so we'll be trimming it up. But I'm adding these on straight across, trying to get them spaced as evenly as possible. It is, you know, it is a difficult task for me because I've got that crooked eyeball, but let me get the card front here. I'm going to go ahead and put some tape on this. So everything to me always just looks a little bit crooked. It's okay. It's okay. So I'm going to match up this corner and this corner on the edges to the edges of this paper, and then that gives it a nice little tilt there. There we go. See what I mean? And then we're going to flip it over and we're going to trim off the excess. So it's plenty long enough. I just find that when I was placing these actual strips, that if I had left them a little bit longer than that green part that it was on, that green cardstock, it was a little bit easier to place. I wasn't having to match up, you know, quite so evenly and everything. So set that aside. This is going to be where our sentiment goes. So let me pull out my Misty. I'm going to stamp a sentiment on there. I decided not to use these guys that I pulled out just because they were a little bit too big, but also they're really, the backgrounds are white and this isn't. So I kind of went with a cream base. So, and I went ahead and placed this. I think it should be about right. I tested it out by kind of placing it in here because that little cardstock bit goes there, and it's perfect. Perfect. I'll just put it down the way it is. I'm going to ink it up. I'm using my VersaFine Black Onyx ink. It's just my favorite kind of stamping ink, permanent. I'm going to give it a little bit of a press. Oh, perfect first time. How about that? All right, let me clean this off. I pulled out a lot of stamp sets that had sentiments that I thought that I might use. I ended up using quite a few from the scrapbook.com Sunny Lane collection. That's where this one came that says Hello Sunshine. So I used quite a few from that, and then I used some from another collection that I have, and I don't know the name. I didn't keep the branding information on it, so I don't have that info. But this is what let me move this out of the way so you don't have any glare. This is what the Sunny Lane stamp set looks like. And this one was Hello Sunshine. Let me put it back. But I also used You Brighten My Day, Hey There, and Love You Bunches. And then the other stamp set I used was this one here. And like I said, I didn't keep the branding information, so I couldn't tell you where this came from. I'll probably have to do a search at some point and figure out where I got that. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and attach this little piece here. It doesn't go all the way to the bottom. It kind of leaves a little bit of a space there. There we go. I'm going to glue this on. I'm using my wet glue and my tape runner kind of interchangeably. There really isn't a rhyme or reason for it. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. I've been using, I guess I'd use the tape runner for the larger bits, and then I'm using the glue for the smaller. Okay, so something that I always do, and you're going to see it here, I like to, because this space is here and it raises this up a bit, and when we put this little sentiment topper here on here, it's going to dip. So you're going to see the transition between this raised piece and the card base itself, or the card front itself. So I do want to bump that up. So I did go to some of my scraps, and I have these little branding strips here. So I pulled out the branding strips and I just measured across. And I want it just a tad bit shorter. And then I'm going to cut, there's 2 layers, so I'm going to cut 2 of these for the top, and then 2 for the bottom, and that is actually perfect. So let me glue these together. This was a great way to use these branding strips so that I'm not wasting anything. Everything is getting used. All right. Then I'm going to glue one of these to the top up here, and then one to the bottom. And then that way it's going to be flush across the card. And even if you don't notice it right away, over time, if you don't give the card out immediately, over time you'll notice that it'll start to dip, and you'll see that, you know, transition from the higher space down to the card front. So it does make a difference. All right, now I'm going to use my tape runner to adhere this to my card base. And then one for good measure. I like using top folding cards. I did have some that were just the standard side fold. So I did use a couple of those just to use up what I had in my stash, but the rest of them that I ended up making were top folding. So I lined it up at the top here. That way, if I need to trim anything, I can trim it off the bottom and it's not going to impact the fold line of the card there. And I did notice that on all of these, I needed to trim just a little bit off. Just a tiny bit. No problem though. All right, and there we go. That is the May 2025 SheetLoad of Cards card. And let me show you all of the cards that I ended up making. There were 22 total. So there's my Hello Sunshine. Hey there. You brighten my day. Love you bunches. I think that's probably my Hello Sunshine and Love you bunches. I love those sentiments. Hello lovely. And then hello sweet friend. And that is it. So I ended up making 22 cards from the SheetLoad of Cards for May 2025. If you want to get your own card sketch, I'll link Alicia's channel in the description box, and you can head over there and get the instructions for downloading and printing your own SheetLoad. Until next time, bye.